there is an interesting piece that I want to start off the call with is we are going to be looking at the 12-week year. If you were not on, and I'm going to have you post the link to in the chat box to our to the first week of February Zoom call.
All right.
Okay. So while he's posting that, and I'm going to tell you guys why, and then let me go. Everybody should be in your hub right now with, and I'm going to walk y'all through how to get to it. That way, if anybody's new or if there's still some confusion around this piece. And Joe, I'm going to use yours. So if for any reason I shouldn't, say something or text me. But what we're going to, so when we're in here with this page, with the hub, when we look at this, that when we talking about the 12-week year, the only thing that you really need to be paying attention to is it's typically the last line in everybody's hub that says your future from vision to reality. So if you'll go ahead and pull that up, the one that's in yours, and then we're going to go straight to, if you look across the bottom of your screen, you're going to have a tab that says Simple GPS. And it's going to look like this. Now, the reason that I mentioned the last group call, I'm going to say if you were, because we're not going to cover the last two group calls, we covered the mind mapping and things to that effect. We are going to look at that a little bit today. And yet, if you weren't on one of the last two calls, you might actually decide to copy that Zoom link, drop off of this call, and watch that video during this time period. That way, when you come back to this group call next week, you'll be right where we are. Otherwise, what could happen is I'm going to confuse you, or you're going to miss a step based on what we're covering today. Okay, so if you were not on the group call 2 weeks ago, or when I say mind mapping, you're like, what the heck is she talking about? I'm going to suggest grab that link from the chat box, paste it somewhere, jump off of this call and watch that, and do, because it's like a workshop, just like we're going to do today, and go through that, and there will, that way there won't be any confusion. If you weren't, and now you can choose to stay and just know that there may be some confusion. Okay. Now, with that said, for most of us, this is, we're just starting the 12-week year. So we're going to have confusion anyways, right? So it's not the end of the world, right? Because even if we were on that call, we've got some confusion, but I just wanted to kind of give y'all a heads up there. Any questions about the link for last week's call or anything, or about how to get to this page right now? We're all good. Okay. Mine's going to be monitoring the chat box for me. So you can either unmute yourself and share, or you can type it in the chat box, whichever is fine. So from here, there's a couple of things that I want to make sure, and somebody that has theirs filled out, I may even bring your screen on here. So there's a couple of things that we want to make sure of. So by show of hands, how many of you have your period goals? So what that means is, I know what from April 5th, because that's when we started this, to, unless, like Luis, you and I have different period goals, right? Because we had already started this. So to June 26th, if you notice, I just updated Joe the period goal. So April 5th to June 26th. And if we look at Joe's, he has and so Joe, I'm going to actually make an adjustment. Instead of find 10 new listings, list, or we're going to say sign 10 new
Nice.
listings. Okay. And then hire EA. Okay. So if you do not have your period goals, that probably means you were not on the last group call. That's, if you know them, fill it in. If not, you might jump off, do that, and then come back in, or be prepared for next week. Now, the next steps that we want to do is actually go, did we mind map? Do we know what key actions or tactics that we're going to implement for that goal? So Luis, because I know that you and I went through yours, can we use yours? Is that okay? I think you're on mute. I can't hear you. Yeah, okay, good. All right, so I'm gonna jump out of Joe's and I'm gonna jump into Luis's, because again, my intent today is for this to be very much a workshop, just like last week, so that you're walking away going, okay, that's exactly what that needs to look like. So same thing, hub from future vision to reality. And then I'm going to go to the tab that says simple GPS. Now, so if we look at Luis's, and everybody, if you can't see my screen for any reason, same thing, raise your hand, let me know. But Luis's goal is 6 listings taken, develop a financial system, and improve physical health and family dynamics. We're going to utilize the first one. So we identified listings taken, and then we went through and we said, what are the obstacles that would prevent that from happening? And what Luis discovered were the obstacles that would prevent that were, for her, not time blocking and not lead generating. Those would be the 2 things would stop her from getting 6 listings signed. Okay. So then we mind mapped it, and you go, these are all the things that I could do in order to get 6 listings signed. Okay. Because I do want this to be a workshop and make sure that we're all on the same page. Do y'all feel comfortable with what you've mind mapped and identifying the key action or tactics, or would it be good for us to mind map again?
I feel I would benefit from that.
Mind
Mind mapping again.
Okay.
Let's do it again.
Okay. All right. So let's do this. Now I'm going to do, and we're going to use Luis's, so what we'll do is we're all going to do Luis's, and then we're going to have an opportunity. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do for your goal, right? So when we mind map something, Gary always talks about go big or go small to go big. Well, in essence, mind mapping, that's what we're going to do. Only we're going to go big and then small. And then those are the activities that we're going to implement. How many of us, if you're anything like me, you tend to change your strategy like every other day, or after every class you go to, you're like, oh, I should be doing that. Oh, I should be doing that. The mind mapping, the intent around the mind mapping is so that we don't do that. We do look at everything that we could do, and then we go, okay, but what are we going to actually do? So if we mind map, so whatever your goal is, go ahead and circle it in the middle of the page and put that goal in. So if I'm using Luis's, most goals are going to have some main topics or main pieces around it. So I think listings, and everybody's is going to be different. So there's no right or wrong way, by the way. But when I think listings, I think MREA, right? Maybe it's leads, leverage, right? Leads, listings, leverage. The other thing I typically think is like education. What do I need to know? What am I missing? That type of a thing. So Luis, I'll ask you, because then we start mind mapping each one of these pieces. Is there when you look at this, Luis, is there another piece a main piece that we should add on this?
I think this covers it.
Okay. All right. Now, and this is where I'm going to have everybody jump in. So if we start with leads, what are some things that doesn't mean she's going to, but she could do when we're mind mapping around leads?
DTD2 and expireds.
So do the database too with our contacts. We could call expireds. All right. What else? Anybody?
Visitors.
So sphere and referrals, that falls under the DTD2 category. Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
She could go back to her orphan clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
So in theory, shouldn't those be in my database?
In theory,
Yeah.
could be. Yeah. Because so like that's where the mind map's different. So you may have put your orphan clients here. Right. But ultimately the placement doesn't matter. Does that make sense? Like, because I don't want us to get too tied up.
No, yeah, it doesn't. I just want to make sure, because subsequent to our conversation yesterday, I had separated these categories, even though the database includes some of them.
Yeah.
I did take time last year to go through my history of transactions, and I enter them in the database, and that was valuable because I think half of my activity has been from my database and half from expireds.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, right, so now we're just exploring. So anybody else, anything else when we think leads that would get us 6 listings signed in the next 12 weeks?
Well, I'm thinking for sell by owner, these aren't things that I do. For sell by
Right.
owner,
Just
door
everything.
knocking.
Yeah. And I'm thinking Facebook posts. I'm thinking
Open houses, maybe.
love letters, Geo Farm, open houses, right? So y'all kind of get, right? Now we could keep going on leads, right? Because again, we want to go big. What are all the things that could do? Now, if we came over here and we go, okay, what about leverage? What could that look like? Or is there anything leverage wise we need to put in place? And think leverage systems and tools, people, systems and tools. It could be people, it could be a system, it could be a tool, right? So when you think about the leverage pieces, what do we need? Or what could we need?
Well, I use Facebook as leverage. I use the smart plans as leverage.
Smart plans.
In the Facebook
Facebook
ads.
Ads. What else?
I use a transaction coordinator, but I don't feel like that's at this step. That's after we have.
And that's, yeah, and this is the cool part because we just want to let it flow. So there's no, you said it, so we're going to add it, right? What else?
Oh, the neighborhood letters, like sending circle prospecting. Well,
Okay.
that would probably go up at the top.
And we didn't put it there, and it doesn't matter. This is where
Okay.
it hit us, so we're going to add it, right? What else? I'm thinking a pre-listing package. I'm thinking my um, asking for referrals. I know you can't read that very well. What else when we think leverage? And that may be it, right? Now, if we look at education, what are some of the things that come up?
The FES classes,
The what classes?
the FES, those are the Florida education system. There's a Win with Buyers. There's actually a really good Win with Buyers Part 1 and Part 2 class next week with FES. If you guys haven't signed up, that would be time well spent.
Okay.
And they send these out by video also. So sometimes I
Well-
watch them after hours.
Yeah. Well, let's just keep thinking what else it could be.
Okay. 10
Uh,
transactions in 90 days.
Okay. All right. I'm thinking script and
Masculine.
replay. Makes me think of game room. It also
Books.
makes me think of
Books.
Rumble. What books? It also,
Masterminds. Spring Masterminds is next week.
yeah.
That's a good one.
And then it also makes me think of, so like Never Split the Difference. That's a great book. Okay. So I'll pause there, but that's mind mapping, right? Because we tend to think linear. Okay, if I'm going to do 6 listings, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. That doesn't necessarily mean that our brain went to the most effective things when we went linear. It probably just immediately went to the way that we're already doing it. Now, there are going to be things the way that we're already doing, we are going to keep, right? But the intent behind this is just think about, again, go really big, all right, with all the ways that we could do it. Typically, once we get stuck and we keep going, that's where the breakthroughs are going to happen, okay? So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to give you guys, or let me ask this, how many of you were mind mapping while we were doing that? Or how many of you need time right now to mind map one of your goals? So show of hands, you need time to mind map one of your goals? Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to be quiet. You got 5 minutes. Start mind mapping one of your goals.
That was short and sweet.
And if you finished, or like we did that, kind of together, Luis, you can go, if you have a second goal, mind map that second goal.
I have a question.
Okay.
When you do the goals, like that map thing, right? I realized this past week that if I don't focus on one thing, I get super overwhelmed with all that goes on, right? So still map it up the way you wanted to and just don't look at it until you tell me what to do next.
Correct.
Because even at the gym, I can't do 3 steps or 10
Yeah.
steps. And I feel like
Yeah. We're hold on. In just a couple of minutes, I'm going to answer that question because we went big to go small. So we're going to take this down to just the number of pieces that we need, and we're going to ignore the rest. Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. Just keep, if it comes to your head, write it down. Take about another 90 seconds. So just keep thinking, what else? Who else? Sometimes you might have a, research circled, right? Like maybe you don't know what that next piece is to get there. About another 30 seconds. So keep writing, but you're gonna you're just wrapping it up. All right. Now feel free, now that you've started this mind mapping, you might need to come back to this after we finish today's call to keep going. And I want to make sure that we have enough time to go from this piece to that next piece. So I'm going to go to the next piece and then I'm going to stop and I want to ask any questions. But I think some of the questions that we're going to have, this next piece is going to answer it. So now that we've mind mapped one of your goals, some of you may have got to more than that, but we've mind mapped one of your goals. This is going to go back to what you were asking about. Wait a minute, there's so many things. Now that we've got them all out of our head, right? That's the intent. We've gotten creative. We've put all that out there. Now we're going to ask ourselves, okay, if the goal is 6 listings signed, and Luis, I'm going to go back to you on this. And I'm going to say, by June 26th. Now, we know, just so you guys, because we've been working on this, so Luis already has 3 signed. So she may make adjustments, but Luis, I just from here, I want you to just, based on this, I'm going to ask you the question. And then guys, I want you to ask yourself this question. So based on all the things that we could do to get 6 listings signed, which one is going to make the most impact?
Expireds and DTD2.
Okay, so expireds and DTD2, of those 2, which one makes the most impact?
It's kind of a 50-50 split.
Got to pick one.
Okay, let's go with expireds first.
Okay, so expireds. Now we want to write these as action steps. We want to make sure that you start with an action verb. They're written in a full sentence, and then we know the frequency we want that to happen. We also want to look at it and make sure that we can do it without any like prep work or very much prep work to that. So how would you write this with an action verb and as a complete sentence, Louise?
I will call expireds daily using land voice.
Okay. All right, perfect, right? Now we would go, okay, this is weeks, and we're gonna, for now, we're gonna say weeks 1 through 12. I'll show you that in a little bit about, there may be some difference, okay? Now my question would be, if we did this, would that, just that one thing, would that get to 6 listings? Or is there something else that we would do that would make sure that we got to 6 listings signed?
DTD2.
Okay, now how would we write that in that same way?
The exact same. I will call DTD2, or I will follow the DTD2 schedule weekly.
And okay, and then we go weeks 1 through 12. Okay, now, because again, we want less is more. If 2 steps will get us there, we don't want 10. And Valerie, that's what, you know, kind of what you were saying. And but if we need 4 steps, let's make sure we have 4. So when you look at those pieces, will that get us there? Or is there something else? Like what would, if, I guess, let me ask you that, would that get us there?
Yeah, I believe that it would. I'm reflecting on what has happened, and what I did in addition to this was send out one smart plan that led me to one of my recent listings.
Mhm.
And the smart plan was just, here's some questions. And I got a response, yeah, I'd sell a property. And I said, okay. So it was just a come list me appointment.
Is that something that we would put
So
here
maybe send
or
out
something?
a smart plan, maybe have people scheduled for a smart plan, the DTD2, like monthly. Like maybe have something scheduled to send out to my database monthly.
Okay, send monthly.
Smart plan, or I
email?
seriously, monthly.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we would say weeks 4, 8, and 12. Something to that effect, right? Because we're going to talk more about that piece. Okay. Now, something that I know, just because I know your business, because if we said, could we stop there? But one thing that I know that you've been doing and that has been really making a huge difference is your script and role play.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, without a doubt.
So how would we put that here?
I participate in 1 hour role play every single business day, minimum. Sometimes, like today, I had an hour and a half. So 30 minutes is game room, and 30 minutes is, so game room is the group role play, and then I have an individual role play for 30 minutes.
Okay. And we put 1 hour role play, 30 minutes game room, 30 minutes individual. And so it would basically be 5 hours, right? A week. And then we would put weeks
1 through 12.
Okay. So then my question would be, because again, we can keep adding, and yet is it necessary? So my question would be, if we did these things, is there anything else we would need to do in order to guarantee that you got 6 listings signed?
So I think this would do it. However, I'd rather overshoot, right? So there's a 30-minute, what is it called? Clubhouse role play that I'm on each morning. And it's hosted by 2 agents. One of them is an MREA. That's like ridiculously valuable, right?
Okay.
An MREA hosting a role play.
Okay. And that's is that daily?
It is.
Okay. So we're and how long is that one?
It's 30 minutes every morning, and I can share these with you, Olivia, to share with others. I'm happy to. So that one I don't always make it to because it's at 6:30 in the morning.
Okay. So this is what I want you to think about then. Then that doesn't go on here.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, because there are going to be things that we could do, but these are the things that we absolutely, this is going to take us to the next piece, right? Because this also gives us that freedom. So like you're bowed up, you've taken 3 listings, or you've got 3 listings signed in the last 2 weeks. You're expanding, et cetera. And you go, okay, what is the things that while I like to do them, they're not going to be as beneficial. It might be that one, right? Or it might be something else.
So these are my minimums. These are my non-negotiables, basically.
Yes. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna go now that we have this, we're gonna go back into this piece
I can clean it up. Yeah.
because, and this would be a question for everybody. Do y'all see the difference between call expireds daily using land voice versus expired contacts? Right. So, so we're gonna make these adjustments. And so this is what you guys will do. I'm going to take some questions. And now this is the other thing that I want to ask you guys as we take questions. Oh, that should say 1 through, because what some of you guys, like maybe you're going to do something, but there is I only need to do this 1 time. So like if she didn't already have land voice, one of her tactics might be sign land voice week 1, right? And then these other steps. You have bi-weekly seller specific emails to the database.
I can just do
From
monthly.
here, we decided send monthly email to database. And then you could say
4, 8, and 12. Doesn't it make sense? Or can I put weeks 1, 5, and 7 like we wanted at the beginning of the process? I guess that's just me being too technical.
No. That's absolutely. I just grabbed 4, 8, and 12.
Okay.
No, you do want to go, okay, this is what
Front load it, right? Front loaded. So okay.
Yeah. So you said 3 what?
It would be 1, 5, and 1, 5, and 9.
Okay. And then I'm going to leave this because you and I talked about that 1 appointment. Okay. So now that y'all have seen the whole process just to this point, because there's going to be one more piece that we do, what are you learning? What questions you have? Kind of talk to me about what we just did.
This is really enlightening. Thank you for taking the time to do it, because it feels much more manageable and I feel much more purposeful with my time.
Okay. Awesome.
To take into hold myself accountable to it.
Perfect. All right. Who else? What are you getting? What are you like? Are you completely lost? Like, just share with me what you're thinking right now.
I like the concept of keeping it very, very simple, because I have, like you mentioned, awful lot of things that could be done. You know, when I look at the mind map and then try to figure out, maybe do a little of this, a little of this, a little of this, but the way you walk through it with Louise, taking the things that she could do, and then bringing it down to what really she should do, the 2 or 3 things that she should do, was very helpful.
Awesome.
Hey, Olivia, and I wonder if it's the case that those extra items that I could do, but aren't my non-negotiables, maybe those could be the 15th protocol actions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody on here doesn't know what the 15th protocol is, put a pin in it. You and I will be having that conversation if we haven't. And absolutely. So you could have a, 15th protocol, right? You could even, one of your things here could be implement
15th protocol as needed.
Yeah, if needed. And I know I didn't spell that right. And
No worries.
and then you would put the 15th of the month of each month.
I have a question. This is Jennifer Ray.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm quietly listening in the background. What does this look like in a day? It looks to me like, oh my God, this is like a whole day's worth of work where you have all the other stuff. What does this look like as far as hours?
Hours, yes.
Can
Well,
I
and-
tell you? Like,
well,
it's
not yet. and because we're dealing with Louise's, I would love for her to, if we have time for her to share what that is, but we are absolutely getting to that piece, Jennifer. So just 1 second. Okay, any other thoughts, questions around the pieces that we just did? Okay, so then I'm going to answer Jennifer, we're going to get closer to your question. So now what we're going to do, you guys remember this 12-week action plan? What we want to do is, and so we're going to start, because there's a couple of things that we want to look at is, if we look at, this is Louise's, so I'm going to change goal 1 because we determined it was 6 listings signed, right? And we also determined, I'm going to go ahead and start right on the April 14th, because she's starting her week on our coaching call date, but most of you guys, it's going to be the Monday. So don't worry about that piece too much, but I want to make sure that those pieces that we just did are reflected on there. So if we have, so I'm just going to take this and put it here. So just bear with me while I make these.
Hey, Olivia, I think you can click Control and click Add Additional Cells and Control C.
Well, the challenge is I'm afraid that if I do them all at one time, I don't know if they're gonna talk to each other, right?
Oh, gotcha.
Okay. Now, because this week, April 14th to April 20th, if she wasn't on goal, we would want to implement the 15th protocol if needed. Again, if you don't know what the 15th protocol is, disregard, don't worry about that. But this right here, And one thing you'll notice, what did I not put here? Actually, no. I do need to put this here. We can get rid of this one. She said week 3, she's going to send out a monthly email, right? Okay. So when you look at the important things that needs to go into her schedule, those are the only, like, now again, we're not looking at goals 2 or 3 yet. And for some of us, it may be just one goal. Though that goes into her daily schedule. And those are the most important pieces, right? And then nothing else, or, those are the most important. So if you look at, now this is the other thing that I would, like, role play. A good rule of thumb, once you're hitting your numbers, right? A minimum of 15 minutes a day role play. Now, Louise has big goals and she's not where she wants to be with with her role play yet. So she's doing a bunch of role play. The cool part is somebody might say, well, maybe that's too much. And then I would ask the question, well, how many listings do you want to take? Because if you're not there, because Louise doubled down on this and she's now taken more listings, right, than she'd ever taken in the past. So it's absolutely paying off, because what's the one thing I can do that makes everything else easier or unnecessary, right? Okay. So before we go into, okay, this now going into your calendar, because we're going to do that. Any questions now that you see it on this sheet? Any thoughts, any ahas? I'm not sure if I've lost you guys or you're with me.
I'll just reiterate a question that we talked about yesterday. We're currently in week 3, so this is where we start. We don't retroact it,
No,
right?
no, we're going to start where we are. Yeah. Now, one of the things that, and I just want you to focus on this particular one. Now, what we would end up doing is we would take this, anything that applies, and we're going to go through and we're going to, let's see if Holder, okay, yeah. And we're going to put that everywhere, but get rid of the things that does not apply for that week, right? So we also don't need to send a monthly email to the database this week, right? So now we have 4 pieces, right? And then we can kind of continue to do that throughout the rest of this time period. And again, getting rid of the things that don't apply, right? Because that way on Mondays, because this is the other piece, so we come up here and you'll notice we did this with Louise. So script practice with each, she said, yes, done. Lead generate, yes, done. DTD2 contact, she didn't do that, or she didn't completely do it. So we did mark done. She didn't do that. We did mark done, and we did do that. Oh, I put 1 and I should have put done. Okay. So she ended up with, now this is over all the things, but she ended up with a possible of 14 points, actual 6, her week 2 score was 43. When we did this together yesterday, what we realized, and that's one of the reasons that I'm glad, Louise, that we use yours today, what we realized at the time is we had a lot of stuff and stuff that we didn't need on here. And that's right. So that's going to be something, if you notice, there's lots of things that you're not getting to. I'm going to say you probably need to go back to the mind map, because you're probably doing things that you really don't need to do. Right. Because we've sometimes
less is more.
Less is more. Right. So every Monday you're coming in and you're going, okay, do we have it done? Marking done. And then if you realize, wait a minute, that actually shouldn't be on there. Like, I don't know why, that's not really going to get me there. You can take it off. Now be careful. Don't take things off that are actually going to get you there, right? Because you just didn't want to lead generate that week. That's not good. Now, with that said, this is the other piece that I want to say. Let's say that Luis has a vacation. Do you happen to have a vacation coming up in any of these weeks? Okay.
I didn't put it in yet, but I will.
Okay, so let's say that she did. Let's say that the week of May 5th to May 11th, she's going to go on vacation. Now, this is the cool part about the 12-week year, is she goes, then I'm not going to schedule any of my tasks that week. I'm just going to be on vacation. Now, that gives you an opportunity at the beginning of the 12 weeks to ask yourself a couple questions. Me not doing it that week, is that going to prevent me from hitting goal? If the answer is yes, then you're going to go, okay, where do I space that out over the other weeks, right? So again, I can go on vacation with no feeling bad, no nothing that I'm separating that out. Or because if you take, we talk about the 12-week year. If you take 12 and multiply that by 4, that's only 48 weeks. So you then could go, you know what? I'm going to add another place and add a 13th week to this. And that's the week, right, that I'll add those pieces to, if that makes sense, kind of push them down. So again, I'm still hitting my goal. I'm still liking the way my weeks look. And I got to take a vacation without feeling bad that these pieces weren't going to happen. Or if you have a team, it might be, okay, who can do these pieces while I'm gone type thing. But ultimately, that's how you are being able to plan your entire 12 weeks. Okay. Any questions, thoughts, ahas around those pieces? I will start calling on you. I can see you. Somebody talk to me.
What about resetting the goals? How would we know when we need to reset the goals?
Like in the sense of I'm already ahead of I'm already on track to. Okay. So again, we'll utilize yours and we go, okay, we are already at 3 signed. Our goal was 6. We're 3 weeks in. You might go, hey, that takes me to my future vision and I don't want to up it because I also have these other things that I'm working on, right? Or you might say, you know what? No, I'm super stoked and I do want to now go, okay, what's my stretch goal, right? What's that goal behind that? And so like almost for you, Luis, it would almost be like, I would almost probably have you mind map. First, I'd make sure that you mind mapped goal 2 and goal 3. If you have the second and third goal, and then I would say, okay, go back and go, by doing these pieces, could I, without changing anything, could I actually, if I refocused on 8 listings or 9 listings, could I hit that goal? And then, right, we make that adjustment. Now, this is the cool part is it's also okay because we want to do a realistic stretch. And my running coach taught me this and I thought, well, that's awesome. Maybe what we've discovered is that 6 listings signed is your, like your safe goal. Maybe you then create a dream goal, right? Like, and then right, we keep moving toward those pieces, but maybe going back and mind mapping that or going, okay, if I keep doing this, I believe that based on my track record so far, I could actually hit 8 goals, 8 listings or 9 listings, right? Something to that effect. Does that help? Luis, that answer your question?
It does, yes.
All right, so we have like 4 minutes left, and I want to get back to Jennifer. You asked, what does this look like on your day? So, and Luis, I'm going to let you share a bit about that, but for time's sake, I want to, while I am, I'm going to pull y'all over to my calendar. While I'm doing that, Luis, tell them a little bit about how you're incorporating that into your day.
It's fixed. Everyone in my family knows it's fixed. From 8 to 11, I am undeterred, right? I didn't add this, but I will when we get off of the phone, Olivia. From 8 to 8, say 8:30, I'm on the pivot shift call ahead. That's a daily Zoom that gives me inspiration. Then at 8:30, I'm on the Carrie Huddle call. 8:30 to 9, that's the individual role play. And then 9 to 9:30, I'm on the game room, which is the group role play. And then I hop into a power hour hosted by a dynamic team called the Corey team from 9:30 to 11. And that is fixed every single day in my calendar. It's non-negotiable.
Awesome. So that's part of it, right? So even, clients, everything, phone's on mute. So it's really about, okay, what does that schedule look like for me? What am I having those people say? The other piece that I'm going to, that I wanted to share is utilizing, so ignore the date on this. I just went to a date in my calendar that was blank, right? So a lot of times the reason why we bounce back and forth is because we haven't determined the priority. By y'all setting that 1 to 3 goals for this 12 weeks, and my request would be that third goal, if you have 3, the third one to be about your personal world, right? And so you're going to actually put that in your schedule. So just like what she talked about. So and again, we're using Luis's because we used hers, but whatever that would be. So she says, okay, script practice, right? Because that was in her, and I wish I knew how to put these side by side, and I don't. So we're just going to do it this way. Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay. I was hoping I could. But just going back into your schedule, because a lot of times when we talk about time blocking, it's because we haven't done those pieces and then came back into and time block, because what we're saying is those are the priorities, right? Those are the pieces that'll get me where I want to go. And then you come in and you go, okay, let me put that script practice in there. Let me put the lead gen DT D2 right here. Lead gen expireds right here. Okay, let me put in, I'm going to do my maintenance or my admin right here. I'm going to go to lunch here. Okay, now I've got, my afternoon. So where are my, and
I have 2 blocks of time every afternoon for appointments. So when I'm on the phone with people in the morning saying, oh, can we meet at this time or that time? I know by looking at my calendar. Those are fixed schedules. If they want to meet later, I'm happy to, but those are my go-to time blocks for appointments.
yeah, absolutely. So, because that's the other thing that I discover is that we don't put an appointment in our schedule until we have an appointment. Pencil it in, because if your intent is to go on how many ever appointments a week, go ahead, pencil it in. Because even if somebody says, let's say that they want 6 o'clock and you go, okay, I'll do that. Well, then you get to go, okay, I needed to go on one appointment today. I've got that one set. So at lunch, I'm going to ask myself, number 1, do I have an appointment? If the answer is no, I'm going to go, okay. If I don't have an appointment, my next question would be, did I get my lead generation, all the lead generation I needed in this morning? If the answer is no, well, then that gives me an opportunity to lead generate. If the answer is yes, then I'm going to mark that off and I'm going to go, is there a project that I need to work on? If the answer is yes, I'm going to work on the project. If it's not, I'm going to go, woohoo, I get to go home, or I get to go to the mall, or I get to go have fun, right? Because I'm working this afternoon. Now at the next time block, 2:30, I'm going to ask myself the same thing. Do I have an appointment? Do I Legion? Do I do a project, or do I stay home? Does that make sense when we look at how to put that into our day?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other thing that I would say, because that's when we want to make sure that the personal commitments are in there too, because if you look at that, you know, if you look at where your goals are, because that's going to depend on what you're doing versus your goals. Let's say that you looked at your day and you're like, oh my God, that is a 24-hour day. I can't do that, right? Or a 48-hour day. I only have 24 hours. Go back to your mind map and go, am I really utilizing just the things that I need to implement, or am I doing everything? Does that make sense? Like so that we can, again, less is more. All right. And I know, guys, we're right at 11:32 Central. So we're right at time. If you have to drop, but I would love I'd like to, I do want to say one thing before you guys drop. And then, because my intent is for next week, everybody to have these pieces, whatever your pieces are, for at least of one goal in your future division reality, so that what we're doing is we're going to actually be able to come in here and mark it done. Did I do it? Mark done. Hey, these are the questions. This is what I ran into. These are the challenges this week that I had around getting that. And that way I have the opportunity to help you go, okay, is that really what needed to be done? Was it something else? What got in the way? That type of a thing. So my intent is for you to have at least your action steps for one of your goals and the action steps for the 12 weeks filled out. Okay.
Hey, Olivia, would you like me to email to you and Mom the link for Game Room, and you can share it with everyone?
Yes, because I know that there have been several that are asking around that. So we'll send the Game Room out, and any of and this would be for anybody that has cool training classes coming up around listings. Feel free to send those to me. I'll send them out depending on you and your business, right? You'll go, hey, I do want to take that. So if anybody has any of those things coming up as well. Okay, so I want to hear from you guys. Again, we'll just take a few minutes. Final questions, thoughts, whether it's around the homework or whatnot. And I'm just going to call your name and just keep going. So it's just for ease of time. So we're going to start with Jessica. Thoughts, questions, comments?
I'm just excited to write it all in, and I think I need it physically. And so I'm going to work on transferring it to a physical sheet.
And I'm glad you said that. And guys, I'm sharing it with you this way because it's the easiest way for me to share it with you for Google Drive, right? But if you are a pen and paper person, yes, pen and paper this, right? So I love that you brought that up. Okay, perfect. Anya.
Nope, no questions. I just got to do it.
Wait, I thought you said
Okay, just got to do it.
edited.
You have it. So now we got it on your calendar to finish it.
Not yet.
I feel like we would be having a different conversation. No. Okay, perfect. All right. Joe.
I'll put it for
The only question I've got is this limited to 3 goals? I can't tell if there's more on the screen that I'm missing since I'm new at this.
Yeah, so my intent, if you go back to like this simple GPS, right now we have it to where you can do 2 goals. I actually added the 3rd one for Louise because she wanted the personal stuff on there. I would say do no more than 3 goals because we're only talking about 12 weeks, right? So do no more than 3 goals. And what you might discover is that you just need 1 or you have 2 or whatnot, right? But no more than 3 goals. Yeah.
Got it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The 411, like, I don't know if you heard about that this morning. Is this in lieu of?
Correct.
Okay.
So this is in lieu of, because basically, right, the 411 is 4 weeks, 1 month, 1 year, right? we're breaking it down and we're saying the same thing. What do we need to do this week?
12 and 3.
Yes. So you don't need both. Absolutely. And I would also say if you're using the 411 at a super high level, you might choose to stay with that and not use this. I know you guys, you're not using it as a high level. Use this, right? But I do have one client because we had really worked on the 411 before and we're sticking with the 411. But if you're not using it at a high level, I'm finding this is much easier to utilize and actually implement. Okay. All right, JB.
I think for me will be, I'll let you work on putting numbers on my goals.
Yeah.
So
And
then it's easier.
Yes, numbers on them, and keep in mind for everybody, if for some reason you have a goal that you can't put a number on, there are some things like, let's say that you had a personal goal of being more present with your family. You might not be able to put a number goal on that. So what you want to be able to ask yourself is, how will I know on June 26th that I've accomplished that? And it might be the kids would be able to say, or I would be able to say, or I would feel like, right? So if it's not a SMART goal, you want to know, how would I know that I accomplished that, and write it that way. Okay. Love that you brought that up, JB. All right, John B. John Butegard.
I'll just come over
Maybe
here.
he's on mute. There you go.
There we
Okay.
go. It's nice to see that, well, it's hard for me to not have lots of irons in the fire. And so this is helping me to get more focused on one thing, get on one track. So, and it looks like, I mean, once we have the goal set, unless it's like me hiring an ISA, then it's just simply copy and paste and put the rest of the items in, right? So
That's right. And keeping in mind, depending on what your goal is, like Luis's were, that's pretty much like weekly, but some of them you're going to have like the most impactful one might be something you need to do one time because it's the first thing that needed to happen, right? And then some things are going to be only need to do it the first 2 weeks, right? So be aware that it may be things to that effect. Yeah. All right. Jennifer D, I'm going to say. Because we have a Jennifer Ree and Jennifer DeLauder.
I think, I don't know, I think being accountable to my schedule and time blocking, because I do all the same role play that Louise does, but then that 9 to 11 period, sometimes I get thrown off course with appraisal and listing appointments and other things, and it's hard to keep on schedule. So this is helpful to put it in there and time block it out.
Okay, awesome.
And only have 3 things that I really need to do versus 25.
Yes, yes, less is more. And then keep in, and also this is the language, and this is for everybody. When we use the language like I get thrown off course, stand in the place of I choose to do something else because the appraiser called. And the reason is because it is a choice, and we want you to use your EQ. There might be a time when you go, okay, I'm choosing to do that, and yet when you stand in, I'm choosing, you also can go, you know what, I can choose to call him back at X, if I was on a listing appointment. So just pay really close attention to the language that we use as well. And yet it's really going to help when we get really streamlined to, like you said, these 3 things, not the 25. Love that.
And I just added in the chat, there are a couple of power hours that are available, and I'll email them to you and Ma and Olivia, and you can share them. That has really upped my game because I find myself being more dedicated to that lead gen time than I have been in the past because
you're lead generating with people. Yeah. That also is helpful. Okay, awesome. Daria.
Hi. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, we're all in the same room. For me, I think the most important will be is sorry, is to figure out my number one tactic to get to my goal, and then the number two, number three, and I know I need to look at where my business has come, in the past and lately this year, especially with our different market right now, and then really focus my time and my energy on that one thing.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Awesome. And again, for some of us, I do want to kind of wrap up with this. For some of us, it's very possible that you came on today and you're like, oh, I love it. You might have also come on today and went, oh my gosh, this is like, you're making my head hurt. Either one of those is absolutely okay, because we'll keep working on this together. And that's why we're going to work on this on Thursdays, because my intent is that you'll work on this on Thursdays and you won't have to be working on it other times during the week, right? Because so after today and you getting those action items, what we're going to be looking at on Thursday is what's working, what changes. So that way, that's where it starts getting super simple and you're not having to kind of every day or every week, okay, crap, now what I need to do, right? So that's where it's going to start feeling the streamlined. So, and then I'm also, if you'll go ahead and, we're going to re-email, or you know what, let's do this. We're going to put it in everybody's hub so you're not getting another email. We're going to send out the recording of this call and through email with an attachment with some verbiage to read around this. It's going to be the same thing that we sent out to those people that you guys got 2 weeks ago. But in case you didn't, you'll be able to read those. That'll keep helping this make it more and more clear. So be on the lookout for that, but we're also going to include that paperwork into your hub so you can access it there. Okay. All right, but really good work today. I trust this is gonna continue to make this simpler, to continue streamlining your day, your week, and your world. All right, with that said, that's where we'll wrap up. You guys can jump off. If you need anything, call, text, or email me, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.